Good morning. I'm near the White Chuck Overlook on the Mountain Loop Highway. And this is somewhat of a continuation of my last video exploring the Mountain Loop Highway. There's been a couple days gap between that video and this video. For about the last month, I've been trying to get the windshield on my van replaced. And the first place that I went to, I scheduled an appointment online, and the day before I was supposed to have my appointment, they called me and said, we can't replace a window on that old of a vehicle. So I called around to several places, finally found a place that could replace it, and then yesterday when I went to go get it replaced, the guy comes out and he says, we went to go pick up the window this morning from the warehouse and we spotted a crack on it. So I'll try again next Friday to get it replaced. So after I struck out, I came back up here to the Mountain Loop Highway to continue exploring it. I got here to the area around 4 o'clock and I just decided to pull over to the White Chuck boat launch. I did it once before, had no issues, so I figured it was a safe bet. And of course, famous last words, around 9 o'clock last night, law enforcement showed up. I was already laying in bed and there was another van in the parking lot. It was when they pulled up, one of the trucks had a lot of lights, so of course I wanted to see what all the commotion was about. And that's when they told me the White Chuck boat launch is a day use area, which is kind of to be expected. The law enforcement agents were super nice about it and they answered all my questions. So I ended up continuing down that service road that they told me to, but all the spots were already taken. So I continued back up the Mountain Loop Highway to Forest Route 23. And this morning when I got going, I made a wrong turn out of the pullout that I was at. And you'll see from right here, they have really obstructed about a mile up the service road. I guess this bridge right here that you're seeing, which has another obstruction, which they spent a lot of work on blocking off this service road. I'm actually kind of impressed. I'm guessing that bridge is not structurally sound. So then I turned around and came to the Mountain Loop Highway. Here in a little bit, we'll continue down the Mountain Loop Highway. So I was continuing up the Mountain Loop Highway. I was checking out a few sites, nothing too serious. I did a couple short hikes, but then my van started doing this thing again where it hard cranks. And it's done it on and off. It's super sporadic for the last month. And I was starting to get really concerned. So I was like, in the morning, I'm going to drive back into Arlington, have the battery tested to see if that was the problem. Sure enough, the battery was bad. And I'm going to show you here in just a second, but it was super hard to get that battery out. So here's where the battery box is on these Vanagons, and I went ahead and removed the lid so you can get a look at it. And you may notice that the seat can somewhat obstruct the battery box. Now, I think the mechanic who installed this and as well as installed the Subaru motor that I have in, is aware that I'm not a happy customer just in general with this shop, and so it's installed a battery without a handle because it is extremely hard to get these batteries out without a handle. You can see I can kind of get my hand in here and I can get my hand in here, but I can't get my hand right here or right here. But you can see that the seat and the swivel section right here can somewhat obstruct the battery box. I ended up having to remove the seat and also this swivel section to get the battery out. Plus I had the assistance from an AutoZone employee to get it out, and like this gripping tool that they had. So there you go, that's the battery. Okay, so I know this video is kind of all over the place, but I kind of want to show you what living in a van life is like sometimes, especially with an older one. So really quickly, I'm swimming in the Stillaguamish River in Arlington. We'll talk more about that later. But to catch you up on everything that's been going on. So yesterday, I left the Mountain Loop Highway, came into Arlington, went to an auto parts store, had the battery tested. It was bad, and then there was the whole mess of getting the battery out. So kind of hung out in Arlington for a little bit, and then the hard crank started again. And so I'm just going to spend a couple days here in Arlington to see if I can kind of figure out where the problem is. Maybe call a shop to see if I can get it in. But otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to hang out in Arlington for a couple days, and then maybe I'll go back up to the Mountain Loop Highway. So I'd also like to point out that although it's nice having cell service being in Arlington, it has been quite warm here in Western Washington the last couple days, in the high 80s, even into the 90s. And although the Mountain Loop Highway has a lot of creeks, even some rivers and lakes, it is glacier runoff, so the water is extremely cold. Whereas here in the Stillaguamish in Arlington, it is quite cold, but not cold enough that you can't swim in it. So when it gets really hot in the afternoons, it's nice to take a dip in the Stillaguamish River. So there you go. So when I'm not doing anything with the van, I'm going to explore the area, and I'm going to take you along. Alright, so here we go. We got the South Fork of the Stillaguamish River. As we spin around, you'll see the North Fork of the Stillaguamish River, and then the two rivers meet, and of course then it just becomes the Stillaguamish River. Up here we have this rail trail, so it's been a good opportunity to do some walking around, stretching my legs throughout the day when I'm not getting too hot. Okay, I moved a little bit further down on the Stillaguamish River. There's two parks really close to each other, the Twin Rivers and Holler City Park, right where the two forks combine, and it gets really busy right there. So maybe a little bit later I'll walk a little bit further down the Stillaguamish River, but for now I'm just going to hang out at this location, swim a little bit. I will say it is a little bit nicer down here because you don't have those currents and undertows, so swimming is probably a little bit easier down here. Okay, I'm headed back to the van, and I found this little hiking trail that parallels the Stillaguamish River. Okay, that was a nice little hike. Really wasn't a lot of scenery. There was some shade, so that was nice. I'm gonna head back to the van and then head into the gas station and possibly a Safeway to get some ice. When I was at Safeway yesterday, they were completely out, so I don't have high hopes considering the temperature of getting ice, which unfortunately means I'm probably gonna have to toss a lot of food out. It's in the cooler, including some condiments. I'm almost on the edge of buying a Yeti cooler. I just don't know if I can justify the $300 on it, although I've spent a lot of money on ice and wasted food, so I don't know. And then from there I'm going to go over to the Twin Rivers Park. Yeah, I made it over to Twin Rivers Park. It doesn't seem like the county maintains these baseball fields and soccer fields all that much now. There is a frisbee golf course here, and I've seen a lot of frisbee golfers here in the last couple days. So the main access to the river is right over here under this bridge, but we're gonna head a slightly different spot, closer to where the two rivers converge. The Twin Rivers Park is north of where I was at earlier on the Stillaguamish River, and this park is in between the North and South Forks. I'm down here at the river, and we're looking at the North Fork of the Stillaguamish River. I just finished up swimming for a little bit. I wanted to cool off one last time before heading out. So I'm gonna get some food and then head over to Planet Fitness. Like I said in the middle of this video, things were all over the place, and this was the last thing I filmed for the next couple days so that I could focus on my van. So here it is. It's going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for watching.